can't get hold of Anthony.
I can't get hold of Anthony.
I can't get hold of Anthony.
I can't get hold of Anthony.
The same first line.
4 different writers.
4 different plays.
I can't get hold of Anthony. I mean, I know it's only been... But he usually... Well, always... Well, he has done until now, anyway. Oh, voicemail. I didn't even know he had voicemail. He picks up straight away every time, like Anthony, all confident and fresh and brash, like a TV executive or something. Or like that Prime Minister, except he liked to be called Tony, isn't it? And Anthony doesn't like that. I don't know why. Anthony. Not hello, or this is Anthony, just Anthony, and then this silence like it's the most important thing in the world he's waiting for you to say, and it makes you feel so good, and so wanted, and so expected. Silence. But voicemail. Not even him, which wouldn't be so bad, would it, hearing that one word, listening to the quietness after, like letting a rose grow in your gut, all thorny and petals at the same time. But no, it's this random lady robot from BT, and I'm all like, how dare she? Oh, how mad is that? Jealous of the BT lady robot. Come on. No! Not listening to that again. It's silly. It's not like he's mine. And I say not mine, and that's right, but you know how it is. We meet every day in that little cafe down there, and after we go to the park, and if the weather's okay, there's the bench, and if not, there's the bandstand, and yeah, there's other people up there, of course, but me and him, I mean, we meet first thing every day, and it's a routine. The bench, the talking about everything, because he does like to talk, especially when he's geared up and is everything under the sun and then some, and it all makes this big, clear sense, and the world is a rubbish place. We know that, of course we do, but he gives it a shape and a meaning that's not just all brown around the edges, and his voice will make you sing, even when he's angry about stuff like, oh, the bloody Tories have done it again, and he'll make you laugh at the snow and dance with the frost, and that's rare in our situation. And then there's when we're dozing quietly, leaning against each other, sometimes half in and half out of our creation. And he'll be telling all these stories and making my head spin about myths and the rest of the legends, all cozy and together. His shoulder reminds me of a tree. I mean a tree that I used to play by when I was a kid. And when the bark got warm in the daytime, it would smell sweet and mysterious, like a foreign adventure, which is Anthony, all right, even though he was only born in Mitchenhampton and all, but like in the wrong time, isn't it? It's been a while. A good long while in our terms, I suppose, where people come and go, all speedy and vacant, and you get sort of used to it. That face and the space left behind when they are. That's life, like they say. This life, anyway. And I got sort of used to having him around. I mean, you know, even if we're not, you know, I mean, we share stuff. Okay, mostly I share, because I've somehow usually got gear and he hasn't and everything. But, you know, even if we're not, we're still mates, isn't it? But, earlier on today, out from nowhere, out from nothing, all it was, are you going then? And he's like, what? So I'm, you know, the party. And he's like, what party? So I'm, you know, the party. I told you about it earlier. Benny invited me. Us. Well, Benny's a crackhead. Well, hello. And then he gave me this look. You know when you're sat on top of them hills and you see the clouds come rolling down over them and you know it's going to pour and it's going to get really wet and miserable and you won't have a chance to dry off before the hostel opens that night? Yeah, it was like that. This look. What us? He says. What us? And it's like the coldest thing anyone ever said to me. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't even get a word out. It's like all the blood and all the breath rushed out of me and into the ground, and I'm just sat there all hollow. And then he gets up and goes, and I can't even call out after him. So I'm just sat there. My head can't even tell me to get up, and I'm thinking, he'll come back, all right? He'll come back. He'll come back. And I didn't even ring him then because, well, if you want to know the truth, I was mad as hell on top of it all. I mean, was? That's just stone, isn't it? So I'm sat there thinking, he'll come back, okay, because cafe, park and bench, sunshine, snow, bandstand with the smell of rain and grass, it all adds up to something solid. All those bits, it adds up to us, no matter what is missing. So I'm sat there looking for his parker on every person that moves, thinking he'll come back, if only because he knows that I'm carrying, but he never showed. And then this is the big deal, right? But then he doesn't show up for the meth clinic at 10, and that's just... So now I'm down here running around and looking everywhere I've ever seen him, everywhere we've ever been, eaten or geared up, open or secret, warm or cold, twice now, running and asking, have you seen Anthony? Have you seen Anthony? Like some crazy... But he's nowhere. All this time and he's just... gone. And I'm like, is he ignoring me? Hiding? Or, there's this weight in me. Like an old enemy you've been trying to avoid and then suddenly you turn a corner and... Because I've been wondering if he's proper vanished. And I don't mean from me, I mean like someone in the system. Taken and swallowed by the vastness of it all, the hopelessness, and you wonder, do they still care or think about you, or maybe they just don't even know where they're at. And I think about all the things I didn't say and did say then and now, and this pit opens in my stomach and I just want to throw up. Where's he at? Do you know what then? You can stuff it. You can stuff it. I mean, what's it to me if he never comes back? He just lets me down and steals my stuff anyway. Remember that time he took that tenner from my bag? Or what about when he stole the last of my gear and jacked it up right there in front of me without telling me it was mine? He always hugs the cider. Just last week when I had acquired some vodka, how much of that did I see? He can be a ripe. And yeah, sometimes he can be a bit. Oh, and I don't mean to me. And don't get me wrong, it's not him, is it? It's the chemicals. It's not the real Anthony. He's not really. Except last Saturday, he pasted Benny a good one right out of nowhere. Okay, well, maybe Benny and me were sat a bit closer than... And his hand may have... But not like that. And it was a moment. It was a second come and gone, and I wouldn't have even thought about it if Anthony hadn't have hit him. So it seems that Anthony has a thing about Benny. And I don't know why, because he's really sweet. Benny, I mean, sort of young and lost, and yeah, it does make you want to hug him. Oh, not like that, though. Not from my side, anyway. So this is all for what? Because Benny invited me to a party. Us! Oh, so I'm done then? Done? But I wish that, have you got change for a coffee? Just, and I hope he's all right and everything, but I'm stood it parched, and like I said, I've been twice around the town, just trying to find him. Twice around the town. Every cafe, park, and bench for him that probably wouldn't even walk around the corner for me. Has stolen my stuff and let me down I don't know how many times. Would he do that for me? What the hell is like? I've looked everywhere. Okay, well maybe not everywhere. Well, I haven't been down by the river, have I? I'm not going there. Okay, no matter what you say, I'm not going there. Because I've been thinking, yesterday, I think it was, he was talking about the waters, standing by them like someone from an old legend, a knight or something like that. I don't remember the guy's name. Maybe it was Arthur. Yeah, that was it. And he has this woman who has a strange name. Because like I said, he can talk all right about this stuff, read it and remember it, and he'll tell you stories all night if he wants to. And he said that this woman had run off with someone else, his mate or something. And he said that the dark waters were inviting, and there's an island, and that knights go to sleep forever, and they don't get betrayed anymore. And I said, well, you're no knight, and he didn't even laugh. You go. Will you? One of you. Maybe? Just go and look out across the water and see what you see. Or call the police, ask them to. They'll listen to you. They'll like see you. Not me. But don't come and tell me, because I don't want to know. I'm done with it.
I can't get hold of Anthony. He said he'd phone on Tuesday. He always phones on Tuesday. But he didn't phone on Tuesday. He's acting a maggot, sure he is. I only said she had airs and graces. I could have said more. A lot more. But I bit me tongue, as usual. She thinks she's something. Coming from Deltoy. That's what she says, yes. She's from the north side of Dublin. She's fooling no one. But she can do no wrong in his eyes. He's besotted. I don't think he'll come on Friday to the party, which is a shame for him. He'll miss out on Mary's canapes. Mary said she'd make them for me as it was a special birthday. It's not, that was last year. But I hadn't a heart to tell her. She doesn't get to do them very often since her Patrick passed away, God rest his soul. She's doing cheesed, stuffed, garlic dough balls with a tomato dipping sauce and crab parcels. I put my foot down on the grilled aubergine stacks. I thought that was a step too far. Oh, when I think of the parties we used to have years ago, they were great parties. The black stuff would be flowing and someone would get out the fiddle and start the old tunes up. And Roisin, she had a lovely voice, so she did. Once she started singing On Raglan Road, well, we were all reduced to tears. Even my Frank. And apart from shutting his finger in a car door, I never saw him cry once. And Anthony will miss out, I'm sure. He's too stubborn-headed. I don't know where he gets that from. But if he does come with her, he needn't think I'm making polite small talk to her. She goes to the gym, apparently. Does HIIT. Well, I had to ask Anthony what that was. High-intensity training, apparently. apparently. She even told me I should try mindful breathing. In for 4. Hold for 3. And out for 7. I mean, who'd be arsed? And apparently, they both do the cooking. Huh. Well, I can imagine my Frank doing the Sunday roast dinner. It's me only day off, he'd say. Let me enjoy it, woman. And by God, did he. They'd leave the foundry and go straight to the pub. Yeah, filthy as muck, but no one seemed to care. Oh, he still looked after us, though, in his own way. She doesn't look like she eats much, though. She wouldn't eat my soda bread when they came round for tea. Today is a no-carbs day today, I'm afraid, Mrs. O'Leary. Well, I looked at Anthony as if to say, really? Well, he was just staring at her like he was deranged. Well, the next time I saw her, hadn't she filled out a bit round the face? So I told her it was nice to see her looking a little bit fuller. Well, how was I supposed to know what had happened? I didn't even know they were trying. And maybe it wasn't the best time to point out that it might be nice if they got married first. Suppose that's what he meant by judgy. Everyone is living together and having babies now. Summer before spring. That's what my friend Siobhan said when her Aoife, her daughter, got pregnant. Funny looking baby that was. Well, if he wants to come to the party, it's up to him. I could call him, but why should I when he said what he said? I don't deserve to be called judgy. And how was I supposed to know that that it hadn't worked? I didn't even know they were trying. It's all so different nowadays. Oh, everything is so different. Getting pregnant before you're married. God, I can just imagine going home and telling me mammy that I was pregnant before Frank and I were married. Well, I'd be on the first ferry to England. But when Anthony came along, oh, God, he was a bruiser. Oh, you could see the life in him. Never the gobshite his father was. And truth be told, I'd love a grandchild. I'd take him for a walk to the park, the one at the top of the town. And we'd sit on a bench and watch him cut the grass. I love it when they cut the grass, on those sit-on mowers, whirling round the corner like they're on some kind of racetrack. Just me and him, watching the world go by. And when he got a bit bigger, I'd take him to the old wreck, the one with the swings. I used to go there with my Anthony. Oh, he loved being pushed just higher and higher on those swings. And at some point he was just like suspended in air, and I'd be like, Jesus, don't fall off. And he'd just be like laughing, roaring with laughter. Oh, I used to love those times with Anthony. Just me and him. It was like we could escape for a bit. And at that age, they think you're great, don't they? As opposed to just annoying. When I think how I was back then, cleaning clothes, washing up, clearing up after everybody, my Frank was next to useless, if I'm honest. He was a big lover of the bookies, was my Frank. I didn't know for a long time. I mean, you'd think I'd realise when they sent us a Christmas card. But I'm happy on my own now. I can go for a walk when I want to, or I can eat ice cream for me dinner if I want to. I mean, I don't, but I could if I wanted to. It does get lonely, though, at times. And I don't think Anthony realises that when he just doesn't phone or just doesn't visit. The young, they carry things lightly. Things don't matter so much. It's when you get older and you've a lifetime of disappointments to drag you down. Ah, well, never mind. I've got my party to look forward to on Friday. Mary is coming along early to help me set the hall up, which is great. I said to her I wasn't bothered for a big party, but she insisted. I think it gives her something to do. She wanted it themed. Hollywood glamour, Arabian Nights. I mean, I think people just want to come, have a few pints, a bit of a chat, and then be home before 10. But if Anthony wants to come to that, then that's up to him. I won't be making no fuss of her, though. You know, about 5 years ago, I remember, Anthony came to me and he said, "Ma'am, I just want to settle down and have kids." And, well, I was shocked. I was like, "What? You don't want to travel the world?" That's what I wanted at his age. Me and Frank got as far as Jersey. Yes. It was a lovely weekend. Yeah, lots of sandy beaches, castles. We stayed in a poky little B&B, but it was nice. We had dinner by the water. Frank was all lovely and clean-shaven, drinking a rum and coke like he did on high days and holidays. It's a shame he spent our holiday money on a card game that night. We survived the rest of the weekend on packets of crisps and apples. And wouldn't you know, me sister, she went off on a city weekend break to Rome. She came back eating all the pasta she could and telling everyone that would listen that it didn't taste the same as the cannelloni she ate on the Spanish steps. Frank said that comparison is the thief of joy. And he was right about that. And I know what he'd be saying now. You're pushing him too far, Kathleen. You'll push him away. He knew me, did Frank. He knew what to say was not unkind, just honest. And he's right. I do want Anthony to come. And if, she comes, that's okay as well, I suppose. She did buy me a lovely birthday present. One of those eye-wateringly expensive candles that actually smells like a pine forest. I think I'll go and phone him now.
I can't get hold of Anthony. I need to speak to him today, and he ain't answering his phone. Just get this message saying he's unavailable. Which I think is out of order, because I'm paying him 50 quid an hour, or at least I would be if he answered his phone. I suppose he's busy with clients or something. I was just hoping he'd be around, because I need to see him. Sorry. Yeah, Anthony, he's my therapist. Yeah, don't laugh. It's not funny. Yeah, I have a therapist. I never used to have one, but since we moved to Stroud, it seems like everyone's got one. Where I was brought up in London, they used to say you was never more than 6 feet away from a rat. So in Stroud, I reckon you're never more than 6 feet away from a therapist. I bet there's some of you here today. Hands up, who's a therapist? A bit shy. Yeah, well, welcome wherever you are. Little joke for you. Man goes to a therapist. He says he feels like a dog. And the therapist tells him to sit down. And he says, I can't. I'm not allowed on the furniture. Just a joke. Just not a good one, I'll grant you that. No, but don't get me wrong. I've got nothing against therapists. No, Anthony's been good for me. So, yeah, how it goes. One day, I come home and my wife, Delia, says I should see a therapist. Yeah, just like that. Bang, out of nowhere. Yeah? Thanks very much. Welcome home. So, I've just come home from work. I'm hardly through the door and she says, Dave, I think you should see a therapist. So I says, well, can I take my coat off first? And she says, don't joke. You're always making jokes. So I says, all right, Delia. Why do I need to see a therapist? And she says, well, Dave, you're not very receptive. And I says, I've just come through the door, darling. Yeah, give me a chance. And she says, there you go again, making a joke of everything. We never talk about what's important. Then she storms off, up to Chloe's room, slams the door. She's been spending a lot of time up there. So, end of conversation. She don't speak to me for a day, not a word. And then she goes to visit her sister. So, even if I wanted to be receptive, I couldn't be. So, I look up receptive on Google. And it says, willing to consider or accept new suggestions and ideas. So I sits there and I thinks, well, maybe she's right. Maybe she's got a point. Maybe I need to be more in touch with my emotions or something. See, I'm not what you could call a reconstructed male. There's things about the modern world I just don't understand. Like, I don't get gender dysphoria. I can barely spell it. I don't know what cultural appropriation means. And for the life of me, I do not understand the use of emojis. But I can take criticism. I am not a bloke who can't take criticism. So maybe she's right. Maybe I'm not very receptive. Maybe I need to improve my receptor. So, I gets in touch with Anthony. He was on the internet. Yeah, and you Google therapist within 10 miles of Stroud and you get like thousands of results. And I haven't got a clue what half of them mean. Like psychotherapist, integrative therapist, rationally emotive therapist, creative arts therapist. So, I choose the one that's closest therapist. Which turns out to be a stroke of luck. Because Anthony's a good guy, knows his stuff. You know, one of these intellectuals, got several degrees from Cambridge, I should think. But he knows how to listen. Very receptive. Which I thought was funny, only he didn't laugh when I said it. He said it was ironic, which isn't really the same as laughing. I think he thought it was funny. So, this is what happens. I goes to see him, and he sits me down, and he tells me about himself, and how it works, how much it costs. And then, he asks me what I want to get out of the session. So I go into joke mode. Yeah, it's what I do. You know, when I meet someone for the first time, I tell them a little joke just to see whether they've got a sense of humour. So I said, this will make you laugh, Anthony. How many therapists does it take to change a light bulb? And he says, I don't know. How many therapists does it take to change a light bulb? And I say, one, but it's really got to want to change. And he doesn't laugh again. He says, very funny. But he doesn't laugh. And then he asks me again, what do I want to see him for? And I just sits there, in silence, for a bit. And then I says, I want to be happy. I can't remember the last time I was happy. I don't know why I said it. or where it come from. And then he asked me, what do I mean by happy? So I starts telling him about my marriage and my daughter, Chloe, and stuff. And before you know it, my time's up and I'm crying like a baby. Crying like a baby in front of a total stranger. I paid 50 quid to cry my eyes out. But it was good, because it made me talk about things I hadn't talked about. And when I got home, I felt sort of better. Well, not great, but a bit better. So I wanted to talk to Delia about it, only she's still at her sister's, so there's no one to talk to. The house is empty. So I eats up a pie and I watches nothing on telly till I fall asleep. And I did think about going into Chloe's room, but I couldn't. I was scared. I mean, imagine me scared of going into my daughter's room. And the next time I seen Anthony for my next session, I gets round to telling him about Delia saying that I wasn't receptive. And he says, what did she mean by that? And I says, you're the therapist. And he says, well, what do you think she meant by that? Now, this is what they do. Yeah, it's very clever, these intellectuals. They get you to answer your own questions. So I tells him about what I Googled, that receptive means willing to consider or accept new suggestions or ideas. And he says, what do you think that means? See? Turning the question back on me again. Very clever man, Anthony. And I'm thinking, he's talking about sex, isn't he? He's a therapist. You know, that's all they want to talk about. Got it on the brain, what goes on in the bedroom. You know, sex, sex, sex. So I tells him that joke. You know the one. You know, two therapists have sex, and then afterwards one says to the other, well, that was good for you. How was it for me? And he doesn't laugh. He smiled a bit, but yeah, it was better than last time, but he still didn't laugh. But as it happens, it turns out sex isn't my problem. Because after I told him the joke, he asked me, do I have a problem taking things seriously? And I says, it was just a joke, Anthony. Well, that's me, Dave. Always there with a laugh and a joke. Yeah, Dave's a laugh. Tell us a joke, Dave. But Anthony says that humour can be like a defence mechanism. It deflects us from actually feeling something real. So it could be that I tell jokes instead of engaging with my emotions. Too true. Spot on. Bullseye. He's good. And then he asked me to think of the last time I laughed because I was happy. And I says, I can't remember. But I can. I don't tell him, but I do remember. And that's why I want to talk to him now. I want to tell him I do remember, because Delia's not home yet and the house is too empty, and I need to tell someone. See, after the session, after I didn't answer his question, I come home and I went up to her room, Chloe's room. And it's still the same. Like she was coming home tomorrow. Still got her posters up. Bed made. Hairbrush on the table. And I remembers the last time I laughed because I was actually happy was there, in her room, 14 years ago. I was in her room and we was laughing about her new boyfriend. You know, Mal was his name. And I kept teasing her about him and his name, and what it was short for, like malaria, or malnutrition, maladjusted. Yeah, but she was laughing, we was both laughing. And then she says she needs to get an early night because she's got a test in English the next day. So I said, good night. And on the way out, I says, what do you do if your new boyfriend doesn't like jokes about fruit? And she rolls her eyes and says, what do I do, Dad? And I says, you let the man go. And she smiled and she said it was the worst joke she'd ever heard. And I said, stick around, girl, I got plenty worse than that. And then I left. I didn't tell her I loved her or kiss her good night. Just said, night, and went out the door. And I never saw the rucksack under her bed. And that was the last time I was happy. Last time I had a proper laugh. And the last time I seen her. Because the next morning she was gone. And that's why I need to get hold of Anthony, because the thing is, I can't think of anything funny to say.
I can't get hold of Anthony. Oh, I can't get hold of Anthony. Oh, as if it was ever going to be that easy. So stupid. I mean, what did I expect? A nice chat? I don't know. Just something. Oh, and then those people looking at me in the hall. Oh. Because I know what Joan will say. I told you so, Maureen. You're gullible, that's what you are, gullible. It's all a big con to take your money. Well, she's certainly going to think I'm gullible today. And maybe she's right. Not that the money's an issue. No. Anthony and I, we worked very hard and we saved. And, well, now that he's gone, I have plenty behind me to enable me to live quite comfortably and spend it on what I want, I suppose. And we both enjoyed our jobs. Now, I worked for a great company, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And, Anthony always supported me in my career, even though it meant me going away from home for weeks at a time. No, go, he said. You only have one life, so live it. You're good at what you do, don't waste your talents. I'll be here when you get back. So I went. And I visited a lot of interesting countries, and I met some truly wonderful people. But no, it was always good to come back to Anthony. And a fridge full of food. Oh, he was my rock. He was a point of calm in my crazy world. I know it's a cliche, but he really did keep my feet on the ground. And he was so good at the practical things. You know, he could turn his hand to anything. Cooking and decorating and renovating, gardening. But I think mostly he loved working with wood. Just run your hand along that. Mow, he'd say. Look at that grain. Is there anything more beautiful? He made me this magnificent pine cabinet one year when I was away. It was so beautifully finished. And when I came back, all he said was, just something to display your travel souvenirs. Isn't that nice? Oh, and there was the time when he spent weeks just stripping back the floorboards in the dining room so that we could cover them with the handmade rugs I brought back from Marrakesh. And we just loved those colourful rugs. Mind you, the rather smelly leather handbag didn't last long. Apparently, they treat the leather with camel dung, so Anthony said. Oh, I do miss him. I really, really do. It's as if I've lost part of myself. I know it sounds strange, but I don't feel whole anymore. And that's why when this leaflet came through the door, I looked on it as a sort of sign, a chance I couldn't ignore. I mean, I did try, believe me. I left that leaflet on the hall table for a few days, and then I threw it away with the recycling. Well, actually, Joan shamed me into that. But then at 5 o'clock on the morning of the waste collection, I got up and I ran out and I rescued it. Yes, I ran out in my pyjamas, which gave the neighbour's cat a bit of a fright, I can tell you. Let alone the man across the way who was just coming back from his night shift. But, yeah. I think it was the title that first attracted me. It wasn't your usual sort of Madame Misty, clairvoyant to the stars. No, it wasn't. It was much simpler than that. It was simply Dr. Adam McLeish. And the blurb was very subtle. It talked about energies and soulmates, and some of it sounded quite scientific, which is why I think I started to believe it might be true. Well, you believe what you want to believe, don't you? And I certainly wanted to believe. I wanted to know he was all right, and that maybe somewhere out there he was still looking out for me. Does that sound daft? Oh, of course it does. I mean, what was I thinking? Well, I wasn't, was I? Thinking, that is. I was being led by my emotions. Joan says I am too emotional. You let your feelings cloud your judgment, she says. Yeah, but I think emotions are important, aren't they? I mean, it's good to feel, isn't it? Oh, well, Anthony and I, we were children of the 60s, you know, flower power and all that. Most of you far too young to remember. But when we weren't, we let our emotions hang out, as I said, and when we weren't marching and shouting protest slogans, we were singing romantic love songs to each other. Now, Anthony's favourite was, just give me, it was Elvis Presley used to sing it. Like a river flows surely to the sea, darling, so we go. Some things are meant to be. Take my hand, take my whole life. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to explain how I miss him. I just don't have the words to express it. So I thought, it's just like something vital has been torn out of me, and I don't know how to move forward on my own. So if I could have just spoken to him or made contact, I thought it might help. And so that's why today I came to the address that was written on the bottom of the leaflet. And when I got to the hall, there were quite a few people there, all sorts, men and women, and young and old, and none of them making much eye contact, just all a little bit embarrassed, I suppose, about being there. Anyway, I found a seat in the back row, and when we were all settled, this rather plump-looking lady with a bit too much makeup on, mutton dressed as lamb, I hear Joan whisper in my head. She stands up and she thanks us for coming, and then she welcomes to the stage Dr. Adam McLeish. And there he is, this small, slim, uninspiring-looking man. No whoops or bangs, no fanfares, no drum rolls, just an insignificant middle-aged man. But when he started speaking to us in his gentle, soft Scottish accent, or Edinburgh, I think, it was very hypnotic. And he started by focusing on two people quite near the front. And he sounded so reassuring, genuinely kind and understanding. And then I don't know what happened to me, but suddenly I was flooded with confidence, and I stood up, and in front of the whole audience, I asked him if he would speak to Anthony for me. Well, he was quiet for a while, with his eyes closed. And then he turned and he looked straight at me. And he said, "I can't get through to Anthony. I'm sorry." I just stood there for a moment, and then I picked up my bag and left, and, well, here I am. Oh. Why didn't you want to speak to me, Anthony? You've forgotten me already. Am I really so... Oh, Joan, you were so right. I'm so stupid. I don't need a stranger to talk to my husband for me. I can speak to him whenever I like, and he will always be there. And don't you laugh at me, Anthony Brownlow. No, it's all right, I haven't gone mad. Really, I haven't. No, it's just whenever I did anything a little bit silly or a bit crazy, he would always laugh at me, and that wonderful, warm, generous laugh of his. And, oh, we laughed so much together. So, and we had a good life together, didn't we? And I am going to try to keep living that life, I promise. Taking you with me in my memory, as I did when I went abroad. One life, don't waste it. I hear you. Well, now, I've got to go and face Joan and the told you so. You know, I do find Joan irritating at times. No, actually, I find her very irritating at times. I mean, sometimes she can be quite rude. But I do realise now that in her own way, she's been looking out for me with all her nagging. Yeah, her heart's in the right place. She's a good friend. So I'm going to pop in on my way home. I'm going to take her some flowers, and I'm going to humbly admit that she was right about the doctor and a few other things. Oh, before I go, I would like to say I really appreciate you sitting here and listening to me. It has really helped me. Thank you. Thank you so much.